think that was the person under 18, and the other person is in our emergency room being evaluated and treated.
What's the message to these families right now, to the community?
We're here for you. We're ready to serve anybody that needs our services.
Thank you, doctors. We'll let you get back to it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Another update at about 11:45.
Okay, guys, so if you're just...
All right, so we're just getting an update right there from UTMB, that's the University of Texas Medical Branch Medical Center out of Galveston, Texas, I believe, and they're giving an update on the patients they've received. You heard right there from one of the physicians, one person under the age of 18, two adults. One of the adults is in surgery right now. Again, the breaking news is that law enforcement sources say there are multiple fatalities following this school shooting at Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe, Texas. One of the students that was in the school this morning, McKenna Evans, was with me before we went to this press conference. McKenna, are you still with me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry I had to jump away to get that update. You were telling me, right when we were just speaking, you were telling me that the principal ran to you and said run, and when you moved across the street, your aunt actually called and informed you that it was a shooting. So when you the first time you learned of how dangerous the situation was, it was from your aunt giving you a phone call.
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She said that, are you okay? Are you outside of the school? And I said, yeah, what's going on? You know, she said that there is a shooting and her husband is a cop in Texas City. And she said that he was on his way over there and that they said that a cop was injured. But I'm not sure if that is correct or not.
Right.
But,
Some of the students said that they heard gunshots. Did you hear gunshots?
No, ma'am. I was on the opposite side of the school, so I did not hear anything.
Did you see, of course, did you see anyone with a gun? I assume no.
No, I didn't.
And what are you hearing from your fellow students?
About the same thing. They, whenever we were outside, they were saying 4 people were shot and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. McKenna, how old are you?
I'm 16.
So what grade are you in?
Sophomore.
You're a sophomore. This is tough for anyone, no matter how old they are, or what grade they're in, or what part of their life they're in, to deal with this morning. How you doing?
I'm okay.
Yeah? Is it hard to process this still?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for getting on the phone with me. I really appreciate it. Please take care of yourself.
I will.
Okay. Thank you, sweetie. All right. Let's get back to the reporting and some updates that we may have for you. I want to get back over to Jessica Schneider. She's been working her sources, trying to get some more information on this school shooting out of Santa Fe, Texas. Jessica, what do you have?
Well, Kate, as tends to happen in these school shootings and other shootings, we're getting information little by little and trying to confirm it all as it comes in here. So what we have right now from law enforcement sources that have talked to me and my colleague David Shortell, they're saying at this point multiple fatalities. We're not sure on the exact number, but that's the information we're getting right now. In addition, on the ground out there in Texas, we're getting a bit more information from some of the local officials there, the sheriff's department out there in particular. So what we just learned is via Twitter, and it's from the Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. He tweeted this out, or the department tweeted this out. One is in custody, a second one detained, and injured police officers being treated. The extent of his injuries are unknown. So Kate, obviously in the first part of that tweet, one is in custody, a second one detained. That appears to refer to a gunman or gunmen. So we're still checking on that, getting more information, because it does appear that at least one gunman right now is in custody and a second one detained. But again, working to get more information from the local officials on the ground there. So what we do know is from the local officials on the ground there, obviously this is no longer an active shooting scene. They have secured the high school. You can see the pictures on the ground right there. And now they're really working to process this scene. So that's why we're not getting official numbers just yet on any dead, but we do know that it is multiple dead. In fact, the sheriff's office also tweeted that this is multiple casualties as well. We've heard about many of the people being treated there, the injuries going to that local hospital in nearby Galveston, Texas. So Kate, we're working to sort all this information out now. I know that my colleague Evan Perez is also getting more information from his law enforcement sources. So we're working through that right now. We might have an update for you in the next few minutes, but right now multiple fatalities, and the sheriff's department out there in Texas saying that one in custody, another detained. We believe that that may pertain to the gunman or gunmen. Kate?
All right, Jessica, jump back up. We'll bring the information as soon as we get it and we get it confirmed and squared away. I really appreciate it. While we're waiting for that, let's talk about this. Let me bring in CNN senior law enforcement analyst Tom Fuentes. He's a former FBI assistant director and CNN law enforcement analyst and former FBI supervisory special agent Josh Campbell. Tom, too many times we've been talking that we get together and have to talk about this as this is all playing out. When they say it's no longer an active shooter situation, they're now processing the scene. What all is happening right now?
Well, first, Kate, that means that they don't think there's another shooter on the loose that poses a risk to anybody at that school or in the general community. So they feel that having this person the shooter in custody and possibly one other person also being detained, that's the extent of it, that they don't think they have anybody else that may pose a threat. Also, they would be withholding the name, and hopefully they have the name, but they would withhold it anyway until they get a chance to find out where that person resides and execute search warrants at the residence. And that would be for the purpose of obtaining information from computers, laptops, desktops, other media devices, papers, documents, posters, any other information that would lead to identifying this person as being involved in this and possibly a motivation for the person to carry out this attack. So those things are extremely important right now. We hope the authorities have the identity and the person's residence determined and that they can get that accomplished. And that's why they wouldn't release that information to keep the media and other curious people away from the area where they're trying to do their work. So we're hoping that that's in progress right now and being done, and they can update the public in the near future. I think there is an advantage to releasing the identities of other people, whether it's coworkers, neighbors, friends, acquaintances, maybe able to come forward appropriate, but they won't do that till they finish with the residents and the searches that they're conducting there.
Josh, one consistent thing that we've heard from the eyewitnesses, some of the students that are coming out, is that they heard the fire alarm going off. They thought it was a fire drill, and it surprised them because they just had a fire drill. What do you think that means?
Well, so I think right now it might be too soon to determine what was the cause of that. I can see two different views here, one of which being obviously if someone is trying to alert people that there's some type of situation to get out of the building, that may be something that...
Am I still connected? Please let me know.
Also, the more sinister view here is, and again, this is too soon to tell, but if a shooter is attempting to gather as many people together in one large location in order to increase the number of fatalities, that would be one way that they might do it as well in order to get them into the hallway, for example, which again is just heartbreaking to think, but too soon to tell right now. I think one thing that's interesting among many things that we've learned as the events have unfolded is...
Please let me know if I'm still connected. If you're still getting an image.
A very precarious
you got a circle on my side.
Provide information to the public. They want to get that out, but also have to ensure that information is accurate.
Yeah, see my face in a second. I'm trying to get rid of the circle.
One person in custody, another person has been detained. To me, that doesn't say that they necessarily see that person as necessarily another shooter. Otherwise, they wouldn't use that kind of language. Detain, uses someone as being being or trying.
Am I still connected? Somebody please let me know.
I don't think we can jump to say right now.
Comment below if I'm still connected.
With any great certainty, but that's something obviously that we'll learn. And then another thing is that you have a law enforcement officer that's reportedly injured.
What's going on with this?
Obviously we don't know if that's a school resource officer or a deputy that was maybe responding, but there at least was some kind of contact, assuming that it's a gunshot and not just some other accident, but that the person made contact with the shooter. And it's very interesting because in a lot of these instances we've seen the shooter take his or her own life. So the question, once we get to motive, will be what caused this person to finally give up.
Yeah, and again, as I know you both know better than anybody, it's these early reports, it's a fluid situation. We're trying to get it all nailed down. Let's get some more detail. I think there is some more information getting in on our breaking news of the shooting at Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe, Texas. Jessica Schneider's back with me. Jessica, what are you hearing? Well, Kate, we're now hearing, according to local affiliates on the ground there in Texas, at least 8 people killed in this school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas. This is a number that we're hearing from local affiliates on the ground. We have heard from our federal law enforcement sources that there were, in fact, multiple fatalities. But as I've talked about before, this scene is still being processed. The tactical teams are still out there. While this is no longer an active
Why are you
shooter
circling?
scene, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done on the law enforcement side. So while we report 8 numbers according to our local affiliates now, there is the possibility that that number could grow. We've seen
Comment below that I'm still
something like
connected,
this
please.
Before. It was just a few months ago in the middle of February that we saw something like this in Parkland, Florida, where 17 people ended up being killed there. This is a very fluid situation here, Kate, and we're trying to get as many details as we can. It's a mix of local officials on the ground who have been tweeting and talking out of the local affiliates there in Texas. 8 people killed, but again, we are working our law enforcement sources as well. I know that colleague Evan Perez has been in touch with law enforcement officials, and again, unfortunately, that number could potentially grow. This is all a bit of preliminary information as they are still working through this scene. This has only been ongoing now for an hour or 2. This all happened, you know, as students were entering first period there at the local high school in Santa Fe, Texas. And of course, Kate, we've heard as well from the people at the hospital in Galveston, Texas, where a lot of these people have been transported. So this is going to continue to evolve. I know that we're going to hear an update from the local officials on the ground there at the hospital, I think in like the next hour. So again, unfortunately, the number that we have right now, 8 people killed in this high school shooting in Santa Fe, Texas. Kate? All right, Jessica. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Let me get over to Crime and Justice reporter Shimon Prokupecz for more on this. Shimon, 8 people killed. That's the number now. What are you picking up?
Yeah, it's quite sad again, and here we are again, right? Kate, talking about another school shooting. And I want to talk a little bit about Josh Campbell that we were saying earlier, you know, the idea that 2 people have been detained. We believe one of those people obviously is a shooter. We don't have any indication that there was a second person involved in this, but I think as Josh was saying, in a lot of these situations, people are detained and questioned just to make sure that they're not also involved in this. And really, I think from everything we gather right now and talking to officials, they're trying to figure out, obviously, the motive, what connection this shooter had to the school, and really what sparked this, what started this. And that's going to be sort of the part of this investigation that's just beginning. But it is, again, like a lot really is not known. Local affiliates there obviously reporting the number of dead, and we do know that the shooter is in custody. Outside of that, you know, it's just a process now for law enforcement there to go ahead and do their investigation and try and figure out what's going on. And really, you know, time and time when these things happen, you know, just the toll this takes on these communities. And really, you have another situation here with law enforcement having to deal with such a horrific scene. The number of dead inside that school, you know, one can only imagine how hard this is for that community now, and certainly the law enforcement folks that are now trying to put together exactly why this happened.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Shimon, stick with me. We got a lot more information coming, and I know you're working your sources to try to get some detail coming out. But the tragic news, some of it is now becoming more clear. At least 8 people have been killed in a school shooting, a high school in Santa Fe, Texas, about 30 miles outside of Houston this morning, just as school was getting underway. And remember, everybody, we're in the middle towards the end of May, which means school is about to be wrapping up. I was just handed some information that, just to put a finer point on it, Santa Fe High School was slated to hold the class of 2018's baccalaureate ceremony tomorrow at the high school auditorium. That just shows it was this is wrapping up the school year for these students, and now we see what they're having to deal with right now. Tom Fuentes, Josh Campbell, they're back with me. We're learning a little bit here and there from some of the students and what they heard and what they saw. One witness, Tom, told CNN affiliate KTRK that a gunman walked into an art class and began firing what looked like a shotgun.
You calling me entertaining, Rick?
The difference, what do you think when you hear shotgun? A shotgun's a whole lot different than an AR-15.
It's very different, mainly in the amount of firepower. You have a shotgun that most of them, after 5 or 6 shots, you would have to reload it, and it would take some time, whereas an AR-15, you would have generally a 30-round magazine. It would be very quick to load another 30 rounds in it. So if you were inflicting all of these shots, it'd be much easier to do that with an assault rifle. So we just don't know from the eyewitness account how familiar she is with weapons. You know, many kids, you know, hunt in Texas. They go out with their father or mother and you know, have a pretty good knowledge of weaponry. So we don't know if she just thought that it was a long barrel gun and called it a shotgun, or was it in fact a shotgun, or whether more than one weapon involved in these shootings.
Well, how
We don't know
off
that
is the
yet.
person?
But an
I should
AR-15
tell you.
would certainly be much more
So
devastating
the leg blowing
in terms
off?
of
It's a
the
shotgun.
number of rounds that could be fired and the number of reloads that could be done very quickly.
Yeah, that's a great point of caution, and important, especially early on when we're hearing from eyewitnesses. Tom, Josh, we're getting some more sound from some of the students, some of the eyewitnesses who lived through this morning. Let's listen to it together.
A teacher was telling us to go, 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 and then, you know, it's like instinct. You're scared, you're traumatized, so you're running as fast as you can.
And once you got over to Indian Automotive, when did it become clear that something had happened, like a school shooting?
Well, it was kind of clear when all the cops were pulling up, because we were thinking, you know, this is not a fire drill. This is obviously something very serious. There was a lot of cops. So that's when it like all clicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, you know, something traumatic has just happened. Now, I never thought this would happen in our school. You know, a school is a place that you feel safe in, and that you always think, like, that's never going to happen to me. So it's kind of scary now that it has happened and to think about.
You funny.
It sure does. And to that point, this shooting today brings the
You don't
number
think that's
of
ever gonna
school
happen?
shootings
You dumb.
just this year
You
to
know what?
22. We also are getting some sound from some of the parents. What they heard, what the phone calls they were receiving from their kids, is then they were trying to rush to the
Your
scene.
kids
to
leg got
protect
blown
the kids.
off.
Let's listen to this, guys.
It was very emotional, you know, because I was so concerned. It's one of our fears as parents to send our kids to school nowadays and not know that they're safe. You know, it almost makes you want to pull them out and homeschool them. But you know, this is the world we live in.
22 school shootings. That's what this shooting brings. This school shooting brings the number to just this year. Josh, another theme that I'm hearing from the students that are coming out is that when they heard the fire alarm, they heard the fire.
That's impossible. Just like it's impossible to guarantee we can prevent a terrorist attack. So then what do we do in defense? You know, I never thought I'd be talking about arming teachers, but if you put a gun in every classroom, not to say that should be the solution, but that certainly probably would have minimized the number of deaths today.
Well,
did I hear that right?
It changes the calculation of the attacker, because if you don't know, as we know, schools are gun-free zones with the exception of armed resource, essentially school cops. But if you took that out of the equation, there's a lot of data that everyone could look at that supports this in just an everyday civilian sense across the country. But when people don't know if there's somebody who's an armed citizen who can be present, it changes their calculations about what targets that they'll go after. As we know, and this didn't get very much attention at all, the Pulse nightclub shooter was initially thinking about going to a Disney facility, but realized that there were more armed personnel there, and that changed his.
Any amount of practice is going to be degraded as far as the level of effectiveness in tactics, effectiveness in following, you know, a lot of the policies. So anyone in that situation, obviously the first priority is going to be protection of life and getting out. And I think that's what we saw with some of the videos with these students, you know, coming out of the school.
Tom, what are your big questions right now?
Well, I think getting back to this point first, Kate, you know, you want the kids to hide. You want them to try to maintain, you know, a safe location.
Yeah.
But if they're already at the exits of the building or just outside the building, you don't want them running back into, you know, you have the police trained to run to the sound of the gunfire. The students and faculty should not do that on their part. If they're already at the exit,
take a chair with you
and get away from that school.
Get your books out.
So again, that's, you know, it all depends. It's all going to be variable. This is different when you have students at the exit or already out of the building compared to they're still in their classroom.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Joining me right now to join the conversation, former Secret Service agent Jonathan Wackrow. Jonathan, it's great to see you. Unfortunately, again, this is what we're here to talk about. There are a lot of details that we don't know. A lot is still yet to be heard. We're waiting for any updates from law enforcement on the ground. But when we hear, once again, as school was starting this morning in Santa Fe, Texas, someone came in, someone began firing, and now at least 8 people are dead.
It highlights the unpredictability of these type of crisis situations, how dynamic they are, how devastating they are, regardless of the weapon system. Whether it's a shotgun, a handgun, you know, anytime you introduce a weapon at school, there's a dangerous situation. Just want to take a step back. We were talking about run, hide, fight.
Yeah.
Very, very effective, very simple methodology. We've talked about it here. There's one additional step that we